guys, it's Shay, and I hope you're having a great day. So yes, welcome back to Mental Rubik's Cube, and we are going to be doing our Proverbs 31 Women study today. We're going to be doing parts 2 and 3. 2 from last week and 3 for this week. So let's jump right into it, shall we? Alright, so I'm going to read through the different passages, and then we'll go back through it and we'll talk about each one. So, first we're going to look at Proverbs 31, 15 through 19. She rises also while it is yet night, and gives meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hand she plants a vineyard. She girds her loins with strength, and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle goes not out by night. She lays her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. Well, hello there. Well, I'm sitting here making my video. Well, yes, you did. Okay, so we're going to try to pick this up again. But I very much enjoyed talking to my dad. That's who called me, by the way. But we're going to get back to our Bible study now. Alright, so I'm going to read over the last 2 verses. Let me throw it back up there for you guys. So, she perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle goes not out by night. She lays her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. So that was basically part 2. And so we're going to kind of go verse by verse and look at what those mean. So, she rises also while it is yet night, and gives meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. The thing that made me think about the most whenever I read this was how, like, the older generation, like our grandmothers, I remember actually my dad's mom specifically, that she would get up early and make, breakfast and, take care of her household, and it was just things like that. And at one time, women had maidens who helped them around the house and did things and whatnot, because there was a lot of work to be done, and so there was help around the house. But I mean, this could be talking about just getting your kids up in the morning, getting them ready for school if you're a stay-at-home mom, or, getting yourself up and ready and going to work and such things like that. The next verse says, she considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hand she plants a vineyard. We don't necessarily maybe all buy vineyards today, but we do have small businesses, or we're raising families, or, we're just going out and working and just doing the things that are in front of us to do. So that's kind of what I think of whenever I read that verse. Next it says, she girds her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. So what this kind of talks about is they used to have like these belts, and I mean we still wear belts today, but they would kind of like carry things in their belts, and they had like these little pockets and things, and so it was kind of using something that physically was relatable at that time to say, instead of just girding yourself with like this belt to hold what you needed, she was like girding herself with strength, and she was like getting herself really strong to go out and do the things that she needed to do. The next verse says, she perceives that her merchandise is good. Her candle goes not out by night. So she was very, determined. She's very, get these things done that are in front of her. And even though it's late into the night, she's still burning her candle. She's staying up late. She is, we've all seen our moms, sit there and balance the checkbook or pay bills late at night and things of that nature. So it's just kind of talking like that, trying to, get the things done that are in front of them to do, and sometimes you have to stay up late to do that. She lays her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. So the spindle was a slender, rounded rod with tapered ends used in hand spinning to twist and wind thread from a mass of wool or flax held on a distaff. So that's what they were kind of using, like back when we talked about the wool and flax. So when they were spinning it actually into the fabric, these were the tools that they used. I'm going to throw up a couple of pictures for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. So the next part that we're going to be looking at is part 3. And that's going to be going through verses Proverbs 31, 20 through 24. So, she stretches out her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches forth her hand to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes fine linen and sells it, and delivers girdles unto the merchant. So now we're going to go through and look at each of those verses. So the first one we looked at, she stretches out her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches forth her hand to the needy. We know a lot of women who do this sort of thing. The women are kind of known as the nurturing, the kind, takes care of those in need and things like that. So she's reaching her hand out to those who need the help. And, one of the things that kind of irritates me about people who do help other people is whenever they take, the recognition for it, or they take the praise for it, and they're like, oh, look at how awesome they are for helping these people. Or, even at the Goodwill, whenever you get a write-off for dropping things at the Goodwill, if you're wanting to give something, then just freely give it. Don't, have to have some type of recognition that, oh, look what I did, some type of a prize, because that's not what it's about. You're supposed to be just giving because you want to give. The next verse is, she is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed in scarlet. Kind of going back to and talking about, making your own clothes, which I'm not saying you have to do, but, that was something that was very important to them at that time. And so she made sure that her household had, the best of the best, that they did not want for anything, that they weren't cold, they weren't hot, they had the right type of clothes for the different temperatures that they had to face. And then she makes herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Silk and purple were some of the most finest garments that you could have, especially purple. It was looked at as being a royal color. And so when she's making her clothing out of these things, she's very much making herself look nice. She wants to be respected. She wants to look elegant. She's very refined. She's very virtuous. And so she's displaying that. She doesn't have to physically, verbally say, oh, I'm a virtuous woman. Here's all things that I do. No, she clothes herself this way. She's, carrying herself a certain way. In the next verses that we'll look at next time, we're going to actually talk about speech and different things like that and how you're supposed to carry yourself. And so this virtuous woman, she's very different from the other people. Not everybody could just wear silk and purple. I mean, it took the money, it took the time to actually make the clothing. And so, these were women that really set themselves apart. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. There was a time where things were set up this way, that certain people were looked at a certain way, certain people had certain jobs, and so this is saying that her husband in particular was somebody who was very well known. He sat with the elders. He knew what was going on in the city. He might have even, gave his own opinions of what he thought was going on and whatnot, and so he was very well respected, as was his woman. And she makes fine linen and sells it, and delivers girdles unto the merchant. Girdles were actually like a belt or a cord worn around the waist, and a merchant was like a retail trader or a store owner. So she was making these things, bringing them to the merchants, and either probably trading them for the goods that she needed, or she was getting the money for the goods that she needed, and then in turn paying for the goods that she needed. So, we see that this woman is doing a lot of things. She doesn't have just a lot of time on her hands to sit around and, be very idle and do the stupid things that a lot of women do today. Whatnot. They were actually going out there and working with their hands. They were making things. They were selling things. They were taking care of their household. They were rising early, staying up late, constantly working their butts off to get where they wanted to be. And so this is what a Proverbs 31 woman is. That's somebody who's willing to go the extra mile and do the things that are in front of you to do. And this is the type of woman that God calls us to be, to go that extra mile, to not only take care of yourself and your household, but take care of the needy. Go out and use your hands, make things, sell them, make money to support your household. Go and get your food from afar, make sure that your family is fed, having the clothes that they need, make sure they're warm, or, that they're taken care of. I mean, just all these different things all come back together inside of each other. And, even just looking at the women of today, you look at a mom and all the responsibilities that she has, it's very much like a Proverbs 31 woman. And, doing the cooking, the cleaning, the making sure they have the clothes that they need, balancing the checkbook, doing all of those things. But too often we get caught up in the things of this world as well. And we need to be mindful that all the things that we're doing are working towards a specific goal. You know, we want to in turn get, you know, in turn we want to be this godly woman that God calls us to be. So, there you go. Alright, well, I hope you guys really enjoyed parts 2 and 3 of this study. I can't wait for the 4th part, and I also can't wait for some upcoming Bible studies. The next book that we're actually going to be studying is Ruth, which is my absolute favorite, which will probably be broken down into another 4-part study. But I am going to take a little break in between my studies and talk about some other things with you guys. Actually, when I get back to the Mental Rubik's Cube videos in October, after this Bible study is done, I actually want to get into some more conspiracy theories. I want to get back into talking about the news and what's going on with that, because there's some really crazy things going on in our country right now, and I definitely have some opinions, so I definitely would like to voice those. And like I said, definitely be looking for that craft video later in the week. I'm going to have some really cutesy little DIY for you guys to do. I've been on Pinterest a lot here lately, especially with fall coming up. It's my favorite time to like bake and sew and craft and just do all that great stuff. So I'll definitely have some really cool videos in the future coming up for you guys. So definitely be looking for those. And as always, guys, keep learning, expand your mind, be safe, don't be afraid, and do no harm. Thank you guys so much again for sticking with me and watching my videos. I love you guys, and I'll see you back here on Monday for a new Mental Rubik's Cube.